It's Matt from Z93's Morning After, and it is my honor to be joined on the phone by Spinal Tap bassist and now solo artist Derek Smalls. And Derek, I have to apologize. I missed your call earlier. They pulled me into a meeting that was completely unnecessary.
Well, of course, most meetings are, aren't they?
They are. Joined on the phone by Derek Smalls, legendary bass player for Spinal Tap and now a solo artist. Derek, the new album, Smalls Change, Meditations Upon Aging. It had been a few years since we'd really heard anything from you and the rest of Spinal Tap, so why go and release a solo album now?
Well, because there's no band left, is really why. We played Glastonbury Festival in England in 2009, 130,000 people. We played Wembley Arena in London, 20,000 people. And I thought, here we go, and here we didn't go. I sat in my flat waiting for the telephone to ring, and after a few days I did what anybody would do. I got in touch with the telephone company, and they said, it's not us. And I realized, I get it, this again. So I did other things, but I just was restless to rock again. And it turns out there's this organization here in Britain called the British Fund for Aging Rockers, and they gave grants to aging rockers, and I applied for one, and they said, what's your idea? And I said, my idea is you give me money and I make a record. And they said, no, what's your idea? And I realized they meant I needed to have an idea. So I thought, you're supposed to write about what you know. What do I know? I know I'm getting older, so I'll write songs about that. And that's how this came to be.
Did you ever consider maybe just taking the money from the grant and just re-releasing the solo album you did back in the 70s and calling it good?
Well, it was not a full record. It was a super demo, A. And B, it was mastered on 8-track, not the one the Beatles used, but, the 8-track cartridges that people used to have in their autos. And so we couldn't remaster that if we wanted to, so I had to write something new. But I'm not that kind of person that would just take the money and sit, let alone run. So it was an opportunity to stretch my muscles and then retract them again.
Did you have to get a hold of the other guys from Spinal Tap, David and Nigel, and tell them that you were doing this solo album, or do they simply not care?
I didn't have to, but as a bass player, you owe your guitar players a certain amount of reverence, and so I did. And I said to Nigel, as a matter of fact, the door's open if you want to come in and participate. And I didn't realize when I said that was sort of putting a curse on it, because Nigel has a phobia about doors. So he has no doors in his house. I've never been to his house. And people have told me there's no doors in his house. He's just petrified of them. So that was that.
Joined on the phone by Spinal Tap bass player turned solo artist Derek Smalls. New album, Smalls Change, is available now. And Derek, is it weird doing something without David and Nigel? I mean, I know for years you've kind of had them by your side. You've been with them, and now it's all on your shoulders.
Yeah, well, of course, I had great help on this record. It was, I don't want people to be afraid. Oh, a solo record by a bass player, 45 minutes of bass playing with nothing around it. It's not like that at all. It's a very big record, a lot of players on it, people whose names you'd recognize. Well, let's see. Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Steve Lukather, Dweezil Zappa, Waddy Wachtel, Larry Carlton, Jeff Skunk Baxter, and those are just the guitar players. And there's Rick Wakeman and Paul Schaefer on keys, and Taylor Hawkins and Chad Smith and Greg Bissonette and Todd Zuckerman on drums, and vocals, including vocals by both David Crosby and Donald Fagen, two of the angriest men in rock and roll. So, yeah, it was. I didn't miss Dave and Nige because I had all these great other people around, with Snarky Puppy Horns even were around. So it was like I rang them up, all these big geezers, and left a message on the voicemail to say, please return the call. And then I followed that up with another message saying, no, please return the call. And when they finally did, it was so warm and generous, the response. It was like, one of them said, I don't remember which one said it, yeah, sure, man, it's like a pity blank. He didn't say blank, of course. And I just thought, well, yeah, that's a great compliment, isn't it?
I was going to ask, with all these guests on the album, I mean, Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters and Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers and Paul Schaefer, do you have to bribe them, or is it just sort of like they're giving back to their elders?
Yeah, musicians are a community. And, in the 80s, we all came together for charity. And in the 2000s, we're all coming together for each other.
Joined on the phone by Derek Smalls, legendary bass player for Spinal Tap. He's got a solo album that is available everywhere, Smalls Change, Meditations Upon Aging. I read in a different interview that you did that all the musicians that performed on this album are actually now better musicians because of it. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Did I say that? If I did, it's true. But I know that the drummers, for example, people were worried, oh, you got this curse from Spinal Tap. And the drummers were worried. We had to insure them, of course. But it turns out, and I know, Matt, a little something about Supreme Evil One, and he's very hung up on the number 3. 666 is just a bunch of threes. And Spinal Tap were really basically 3, Dave, Nigel, and me. So, of course, we attracted the curse. But now I'm a solo artist. I'm a 1. I'm not a 3. And so all the drummers, I rang them up afterwards and say, how are you feeling? Everything okay? They were all in better nick. They never felt better. So it's the curse in reverse.
I think you would have a lot of people upset at you if you were the reason that, like, Taylor Hawkins went away, if you were the reason that Chad Smith just went away.
Oh, I'd be one of them. If you play with those geezers and then you can't play with them anymore, you'd feel like you cheated yourself.
The new album, you talked about it a little bit. It kind of smacks of a rock star that's entering his later years. You've got songs like MRI and Hell to Pay, a little play on words there, Gum in the Gash. Also to speak to the fact that Derek Smalls isn't the young rocker that he was just a few years ago. Do you still feel like a rock star?
Well, I feel basically as good as I've always felt with all, we did the show, our live show for the first time in New Orleans with the Louisiana Philharmonic on stage for 2 hours plus, singing and playing. Felt great. But I have a physical regimen that I do, which is I run a resistance run against water, which, is good for the lungs and for the heart and for the legs. You're supposed to do it in a pool. Unfortunately, I don't have a pool, so I've been doing it in a tub. And that's not very, it turns out that's not a good thing to do. So if anybody's listening, don't run in the tub. I
mean, I would think it would be good for your ankles, though, at least a little bit of resistance there on the lower part of the leg.
Yeah, your lower calves would do well, but it's a slippery place, and, you end up face down in the own tub.
The new album is out now, and I know you've done a few shows as well to this point. Is it weird being on stage as kind of the main attraction, like the spotlights are now on Derek Smalls? Is it weird kind of being you're the front man now, you're the guy.
I'm the guy at the center mic, and I realized, you play for all these years where the bass player plays, and you get lit, but it's sort of medium light. And you get that center mic, and it's the brightest light. And as you know, Matt, you know your physics, light equals heat. And as you get older, you get a little more sensitive to the cold. You don't want it to be so. So I now realize I should have done this long since just for the warmth.
Now, every single band, whether it be a major touring band or a local band, they all have kind of their quote Spinal Tap moment, and obviously Spinal Tap had a bunch of them because it's named after them. Has Derek Smalls had his own Spinal Tap moment as a solo artist yet?
No, yet. When I was playing, I was sitting in with this near-death metal band over in Albania called Chainsaw Vermin, and I had I guess you'd call it a tap moment because I had a bass tech. I was sitting in with them. It wasn't my band. I wasn't in it, but I'd sit in with everyone. So when the bass tech, I guess he wasn't used to a 5-string bass. So I said, restring my bass, please, before we do the gig. And he put only 4 strings on it. So I kept reaching for that 5th string, and I'd just be hitting wood, which, was not too effective.
And it's no secret that you've battled addiction over the years, including a awful internet addiction. Is it difficult being out on the road? Does that make you more susceptible to a relapse, and does it concern you at all?
Well, it makes you watch a lot more cable TV than you might want to. It means if I were left to my own devices and my doctor was not monitoring me, I might be, on my laptop or my mobile phone. But now I can't, so I have to watch like Shark Week or something.
Shark Week is very popular, so I completely understand that. Derek, yeah. You're getting up there in age. Shouldn't you be retired at this point?
Nah, playing too loud keeps you young, mate.
The new album, Smalls Change, Meditations Upon Aging, is available now. Legendary Spinal Tap bass player and now solo artist Derek Smalls. Derek, thank you so much, man. I know you had to wake up early to call in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. The record is extremely available, I should say. And we'll see you on the road in 2019, I guess. Yeah. Thank you.